Hello, Pearl Jam fan community. Welcome to the Wishlist Foundation's interview series, Candle of Thought, where we illuminate the people, causes, and music that are important to the Pearl Jam community. I am your host, Chrissy Ferguson. Today, I am so excited to be chatting with Lance Mercer. Born and raised in Seattle, Lance started documenting the punk scene in his teen years from behind the lens. He entered photography school when he was just 17, and after graduation, he became a freelance photographer in 1991. Mercer was invited to tour with Pearl Jam from 1992 to 1995 as their official photographer, and it did not take Lance long to start working full-time as a music photographer with many other well-known musical artists like Alice in Chains, Soundgarden, and Mother Love Bone. Lance also released 2 books, Place, Date in 1997, and one of my personal favorites is 5x1 Pearl Jam Through the Eye of Lance Mercer. Today, Lance remains in demand as a visual storyteller, applying his talents in the music, editorial, and commercial worlds, as well as in the production, direction, and filming of documentary projects. His work continues to be published and exhibited locally and internationally, and so many of us already know Lance, but we just welcome you. We're so excited that you're talking with us today. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Chrissy. It's an honor, actually, so thank you.
Well, thank you. Now, your first session with Pearl Jam, I believe, was back in 91. When they were still Mookie Blaylock. Yep. Can you take us back to that moment when Jeff asked you if you'd be willing to come out on tour with the band? And what do you remember about that conversation?
Sure. Well, Jeff and I had been friends for quite a while, just in the scene, including Stone. I didn't really know Mike very well, but having photographed most of the Mother Love Bone work, we built up a pretty good relationship. Creatively, Jeff and I worked really well together. He would have ideas and I was able to implement them, but mainly it was a collaboration. So most importantly, there was trust. And that was a big part of, I don't know if I intentionally set out to do that, but I wanted to photograph people that I knew just so there'd be more intimate moments and have that trust rather than being voyeuristic. I wanted to just be on the inside rather than outside looking in. So I think that was a big part of it. And, after Andy Wood passed away and it was so tragic and everything just kind of got put on pause. I was still stunned. Nobody really had any idea of what was going on. We lost contact for a little bit, and I'm not exaggerating. It was kind of just out of the blue where Jeff called me and asked me to come down to Gallery of Potato Head, which is in Belltown in Seattle. Kind of short conversation about them having some new music and new singer. It's a project they were working on. And I believe they had done some Temple of the Dog stuff. It was all around the same time. And he asked me to come down and basically, we just hung out. I literally photographed them for maybe half an hour. And that was it. Just down in the practice room, we walked around Belltown. It didn't even really feel like a photo shoot, which is what I do. That was even early on. That was kind of my MO, was to just hang out, and I happened to be taking pictures. You know what I mean? I didn't make it. I didn't want them to think that I was being opportunistic or that I had an agenda. It was just hanging out. And that was really comfortable and really fun, and it went really well. That was where I first met Eddie, who was actually living down at that basement rehearsal space at the time. Some things transpired, went by. So I don't know how much time went by before. Oh, maybe not that much time because that was 91. Then they asked me to go down a quick jaunt down the West Coast. It was Nirvana, Red Hot Chili Peppers, and Pearl Jam. The first show, yeah, I flew into San Francisco, and then the first show was at Cal Palace on New Year's Eve of 91, which was huge in comparison. Like, I was not ready for that whatsoever. The photos from that show are not great. They're pretty bad, actually. Just because I'd been used to shooting these small stages in clubs, right? So the stage was tall, and I wasn't really completely ready for that. But keep in mind, there had been some shows in Seattle at smaller bars, the Off Ramp and Rock Candy. So I had already photographed them. So I already kind of knew what was going on. It's a little bit blurry timing wise because there was London Bridge in 91. Mm-hmm. I did the album cover for Temple of the Dog. Again, just a collaboration that Jeff and I had. So it all happened pretty fast. I quit my job. You know what I mean? Yeah. I was like, that was the last regular job I had. It all just like, I'm like, okay, this is what I'm doing, you know? So
that's amazing. And your work has been credited with helping to solidify the band's image, you know, in the beginning. And what I want to know is, you know, your pictures are so intimate, and we're going to get to that a little bit later, but did Pearl Jam give you any direction into what they wanted you to photograph? Or was there something in particular that you were looking for? I mean, you kind of alluded to it a little bit. You just wanted them to feel like you were just hanging out, you know?
Yeah.
But I'd love to think, like, in the back of your mind, were you thinking, I'm going to help create the band's image?
It's a great question, actually, because there is some people who work that way. I was so young, but I was so influenced by so many photographers and so much art early on that I wanted it to be as authentic as possible. Keep in mind that I had been photographing Love Bone, which was larger than life, right? Mm-hmm. There's a persona, there's an image that's being created, and I was a part of that. So that was more of like mainly Andy Landrew, you know, being a rock star, right? No. So there was way more intent with that going into it. With Pearl Jam, I always thought, like, if somebody looks at these photos, I want them to know who these people are. So you can't tell somebody to be themselves.
Right.
You know what I mean? You can't be like, okay, the way my dad used to do this, he would, real early on, he would take a camera and he was trying to teach me lessons. He's like, okay. And he put the camera to his face, and the reaction that I would be like, you know, smiling, leaning into the camera, right, like we all do.
Yeah.
And then he goes, now look. And he would take the camera down. And, you know, there's a different, if there's the camera, if you're not like being self-conscious about a camera being up.
Right.
So I'm like, I want to get those pictures where people don't realize their photos being taken. So when I say we just hung out, that's the photos that I want. Like I've always been very observant of people's behavior and just kind of, you know, we all have our own way of being, you know. Yeah. I'm talking with my hands all the time. I'm doing weird things or something, you know, whatever it is. So I wanted to be that, especially after what had happened. It was so heavy. I think everybody just, everybody, Jeff and Stone especially, kind of stripped everything away when it came to after being all dressed up and makeup and all,
Yeah.
love, love rock. They just kind of strip things away. And so when I heard the music, uh, it felt very raw, felt very like personal. So I think that's influenced without realizing it, if
Yeah.
that makes sense. You
Yeah.
carry that, um, it's there, but I'm not, yeah, like I said, I just don't want to make a big deal about it.
Yeah.
So that requires, well, and I can say this about anybody getting into it, that requires knowing and being confident with the gear that you have and not being encumbered by anything technical.
Right.
You like learn that shit and forget it, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I learned how to photograph without looking through my camera.
Right. Well, and that's actually one of the questions I have for you later on. But it's a good segue because I actually asked Jeff Whitman, who is currently on tour with Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
I feel like for me as a writer, I feel like I think in stories. Like I'll see something and I'll say that's a
Sure.
story, And so my
Yeah.
question for him, which is actually going to be for you too, is throughout your career and even now, well, do you see, do you think in pictures? Do you see something and say,
Oh yeah.
"Oh, that's a picture"? You may not even have your camera, but you say,
Drives me crazy. A lot of people, it happens to photographers early on. I feel, at least the ones I've talked to, just you see it when you're driving. Is a square format. You're just constantly
right,
doing that.
Con-
Yeah, it's kind of a distracting. And then when I was shooting more video, I would see little snippets of video. Oh, that'd be cool. Like, yeah, we see the world differently.
yeah,
And that's just influence. The same thing happens to you with writing. You put things into a context of, what you're inspired by,
right,
what you're kind of preoccupying yourself with. Yeah,
yeah,
so it constantly is happening. Like I said, observation. I mean, photographing live music, most of it is just observing what people are doing before actually taking a picture. I mean, digital is unfortunately kind of made it worse because people just go brrrr
yeah,
and they just have thousands. But I would, I always say like musicians have when they're playing live, they have like five moves and variations of those moves. And if you pay attention, you can be where they're not
right,
and get that. It's like being a sports photographer. Don't photograph, don't try and chase the ball. You're like, where's that person going to be and go? I learned that quickly with Eddie, with Mike especially, but I can tell you stories about knowing where Eddie was going to climb before he did it.
How'd you know that?
Uh, okay, this is a whole this. I told you I was ramble on. I used to say that I got lucky with certain photographs, right? Oh, I got lucky. And I don't believe in that anymore. That's discounting the work that you do. I think we use that term too loosely. We can say we're fortunate, time and place can be something, but I worked my ass off to get images that I got and to be where I am and to like that was a lot of hard work. I learned early on that Eddie would go out in the crowd at the same time, same song during this set, right? Like
Mhm.
it was Porch.
Mhm.
So I'm like, okay, he's going out when there's this break that he can go out. I also learned that at sound check, I was watching him and he was like checking shit out and he would like put his foot on certain things. And so I'm like, oh shit, he's just going to climb that there. You know what I mean? He's like checking where putting his foot on
Where
the
it's sturdy.
monitors. Yeah. Well, hold him, especially if it's a place that has a built-in stage, like Drop in the Park. They bring in. So they're like, well, that's the only place he could climb. So I'm like, knowing that, I look at the set when they write it out. Where's Porch? Okay, what's the song before? Okay, where am I going to be when that happens? Like, because I can be shooting it from front on and just get an audience perspective, but that doesn't really give it much context, right? You're
Right.
like, you can't see where it is in relation to the crowd. Not easy, what I'm talking about, because the goal is always to get the feeling of what you're feeling at a show, like, and that's the relationship of the band and the performer, the artist, and the audience.
Right.
There's this thing happening. The band's feeding off the crowd's feeding off the, and when the band gets bigger, that gap gets bigger. So my place is in the middle. How can I got one thing over here and I got one thing over there, and I can't put them together.
Right.
So so I try and put myself in a place, and I can tell you, I can count on my hand how many times that's worked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, where I can look back on that photo and be like, okay, that's close. That's like maybe 80%, 75, 80%.
Right.
Because this all stems from me going to punk rock shows when I was a kid and just fucking coming home and being like, oh my God, that was the most amazing, just like vibrating. And, you know, shooting Van Halen when I was young, but my photos sucked. They were the back of the person's head in front of me. And I'm trying to tell people that that show was amazing. Look at this photo. Look, can't you tell from this photo? No.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You gotta
That
have a
photo's,
different perspective. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I guess you had to be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
How can I make that be there?
Ah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, you perfectly
So,
captured those moments for us when we couldn't be there. I mean,
yeah,
so you're
I
doing your
appreciate
homework
that.
all the way from like sound check, just basically observing, doing your homework, getting ready.
But people, when I don't want people to know that.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm just
Right.
like, I'm
Hanging
just
out.
hanging out. I'm
Right.
just hanging out. We're just gonna have a good time. There's times where as my work progressed and I got hired and getting paid and I need to do some legit photo shoots, and we all had a job to do, and the publicity photos, and you know, there's different time and place for that. But as far as like the candid stuff, I mean, Jim Marshall and Gary Winograd, and there's all these photographers that you know, the ones that I loved was just capturing people, the essence of and the rawness of who they are.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot to that,
Yeah. And
and it
think,
takes a
oh, sorry.
lifetime.
Yeah.
No,
I
go
bet.
ahead.
Well, I mean, and
Yeah,
that's, I mean, my favorite, I love all the pictures that you have in here. This is just so amazing. And,
I
you know,
really
like you said,
appreciate
you
that.
capture
Thank
the
you.
raw, the silly, the angry, you know, they were definitely going, you know, through a lot. And the
Yeah.
happy, you know. And I'm just curious, is there one candid picture that stands out to you when you were following the band? You know, one that they really didn't even know maybe you were taking, but it really impacted you in some way.
Yeah, there's a couple. There's one of Eddie on the bus in
Sleeping.
Europe. Yeah, or reading. There's a couple like that. He was not welcoming to me being, you know, he was accepting, but it wasn't like I didn't really get let in. Got to keep in mind that was during a time where shit was blowing up.
Yeah.
He had his guard up, and I don't blame him. I mean, it messes, you know. So a couple of those were really, and I got some of those early on. There's some that aren't in the book that I've come across since then because I have film and not everything can get put in the book. But
wait, how can we see those?
yeah, exactly. That's the next book, hopefully.
Okay.
But you know, before things got uh, crazy, and people were trying to get a piece of them. Yeah, there's a couple of quiet moments that I really like that, because I'm putting it into a personal context that where I'm reminded when I look at those photos of what it was like being there. And as far as live photos, uh, the one at Brixton where they're kind of leaning over, I don't even know if that's in the book. Um, it's a photo that's been seen quite a bit of mine, but because I'm not trying to, how do I say this? I would like my photographs to sit on their own as a photograph.
Yeah.
Compositionally, regardless of who's in it. There's a documentation of time and place. Oh, that's Pearl Jam's first show at the off ramp. And it's fun because I love looking at photos of bands that I love of like, oh shit, where was that? And I'm not looking at it like a, piece of art.
Right.
But then there's photos where it's just like, I want it to sit on its own,
Yeah.
So the one in Brixton where they're leaning over, I really just always get the feeling of being there. There's just the way the stage is, and it's hard to describe. It's just a feeling that I get when I still look at it.
Yeah.
I don't get sick of those. Yeah, but the one on the bus I really like just because it's a little more vulnerable. The guard's down a little bit,
Right.
not trying to be, like I said, it's that, being aware of the camera,
Right.
the reaction's going to be different.
Yeah.
So.
And when you were in, like you said, you worked your butt off. It's not like you had a lucky photo, but when you were in the black room and you were developing photos that you had worked so hard to capture, were there any surprise images? Like you looked at something and you said, I nailed it. Like if, at a show
I mean, drop in the park for sure. That I knew, but I knew that when photographers will tell you they know when they take it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? There's just like, you see it, it's really weird. It's so weird. It's like a blink and you're like, oh, I got it. But it, same with Eddie jumping in the crowd, getting him in midair. That took all tour. That was a whole tour to get him in the air. And it's just like that. That's and the one of Chris Cornell in the crowd too. Mm-hmm. Same thing. Like that took the whole tour for me to get that one photo, but it encapsulated the whole feeling I was getting. Yeah, there's a dark room. It's not the dark. Well, so it used to be before digital. We'd have to wait till the next day to see the film, or you go process the film and then it's in the wash and you got to pull it out and you get the loop and you're like looking at it, and you're still, you have to transpose it in your brain because it's negative, so you don't know for sure until you print it because it's big, it's tiny. And so, Drop in the Park was definitely like, because that was a sequence I got. And I was like, okay, that one that's pretty great for that. Like I said, it gets back to the crowd and the band and the crowd, the relationship between the two.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Now you spend a lot of time around these bands that we were mentioning earlier, Alice in Chains, Mother Love Bone, and also Soundgarden. And you weren't just, as we talked about, you weren't just snapping photos, but you really were a part of their world. And I imagine that over the years you had built real connections with the people in the band, sure, like Lane Stanley and Chris Cornell and Andy Wood. And when artists like that pass and when they passed, I would imagine it's not just, it was a loss for the music world, and we're still all, grieving, especially at, the birthdays of these guys that were so awesome. But when they passed, what has it been like for you personally? Because you were a part of their intimate world, and how did you cope with that when with their passing, and having seen them up close during pivotal moments, and then has their passing or did their passing change how you think about your work with them or your memories of them?
Sure. I mean, first of all, it's heartbreaking, right? Like just losing a friend. Um, Not something that you ever really get used to. Uh, you get somewhat numb to it, like being in Seattle and being in the punk rock scene early on, a lot of people, once like drugs got infiltrated the scene, a lot of people passed away. By the time I was like 16 or 17, I already lost a lot of people. So you get kind of used to it, which is not good.
Right.
um, and just, yeah, Andy that was so heavy. That was so huge. That just had so much weight to it because it nobody had really succeeded yet in Seattle for the most part. But not within the world that I was in. Record companies didn't come to Seattle. Like Seattle was just up in the corner, and so, and that's all he wanted. And he was my muse. Like seriously, like I finally found somebody that wanted to be photographed, So, and then also just good friend, and so regardless of being the photographer, like losing friends it sucks. And then you get, sometimes my reaction has been different every time. Like sometimes you feel guilty because you're not feeling anything, right? Like I didn't know Kurt, but holy shit, just the impact that had within the community, because that there's such a tight-knit community here in Seattle, and there still is. Any scene would have that. You're just so that's the first part of it. Just it weighs really heavy. Some more than others, some right away, some later. The quandary, the dilemma that I struggled with is not, especially when Kurt died, within the parameters of Seattle being on the map of everywhere. I didn't have any photos, and I felt really sorry for Charles because you don't want anybody to feel like you're exploiting that with your trying to make money off of your work. Like it's a weird feeling. Like even social media, like if somebody passes and I run and quickly post a photo of them, it's not for me, it's not because I want everybody to see that I have a photo of them. It's in memory of that person. It's my way of giving back or showing something,
right.
or it's just the insecurities come up, so that social media has done that. It's fucked us up in a lot of different ways. But but the main thing is you don't, like with Kurt was the big one. You don't want, cause everybody's calling, you know what I mean? Everybody's like, you got photos of Kurt, you got magazines. So fuck you. I don't want to I don't want to see that person's photo in that magazine. But who are you? It's a weird thing. Nowadays, it's a little different. It just blows my mind. It really came to light when there was a Chris Cornell tribute in LA or whatever the hell that thing was, where bunch of people came out and did his songs. And you realize you're just like, nobody can sing those songs.
Right.
Holy shit. I forgot. You to kind of take it for granted. You're just like, oh my God, the talent, the level of talent with the singers. Where the hell did that come from? I don't know. I can't sing. I don't know
Yeah.
if it's not the water. I drink the water. I don't sing. I'm sorry. Uh, yeah, it's mind-boggling. Eddie's the only one left, and for the most part, even Sean Smith, who was and yeah, there's a lot. Lanigan and um, I don't I don't know if that answers your question or not. I just
Yeah, it
I'm
does.
tired of putting up photos of people in memory of but we're getting older, and I guess
And you're blessed that you had those moments with all these people and have those pictures and those memories. So,
yeah, thank you. Yeah. And again, I'm just glad that I don't have a lot of everybody, but I have enough to uh yeah, I want to look back on the photos and know, and I can tell, oh yeah, that's how I remember that person.
yeah,
Ultimately, that's kind of what I hope for, right?
right.
You know what I'm talking about. You have photos of your kids or whatever of people, and you get it. There's some photos that, and then there's other photos you're like, okay, that's them.
That's a keeper.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it's in the eyes or whatever. So
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Now you,
Ultimately, that's a goal. Go ahead.
right.
Sorry.
We'll change it to a little happier note. You've done a lot since photographing, the rock scene, and some of the pictures on your website from Nepal are just spectacular.
Oh, thank you.
You were capturing photographs for Sherpa Adventure Gear catalogs. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
that was a job I had. Yeah, good.
And
Yeah,
same thing with that is, did you have your own vision or did they give you direction? Because, this is a kind of a different scene, but
yeah.
absolutely beautiful in its own way.
Oh, I appreciate that. That is a great question. Uh, I um, I love that you're asking this. I'm a freelance photographer. I'm a self-employed artist. People are like, "Oh, what do you mainly shoot?" And I'm like, "I'll shoot puppies. I'll shoot weddings. I'll shoot whatever, because that's I have to make a living somehow or another."
Right.
Anyway, that was a great job through a good friend of mine, Chuck Pennington, who had the idea. He's an art director, and there's this great company in Seattle. They commuted back and forth, Kathmandu and Seattle, and it was a family-run business because over in Nepal, all the like gear that these climbers were wearing was made in China. Well, there's this big conflict, not a conflict, but um, and a lot of the photographers shooting all this stuff, they would shoot for all the companies, and they were retired climbers, they were athletes, so all the photos kind of looked the same.
Mm-hmm.
So when he took me out there for the meeting, my pitch to them was like, I don't know how to do mountaineering. I'm not a climber, but I want to go photograph I want to go have tea with your grandma. That's what I said.
I love it.
And because their whole concept of their clothes was the history of the family and the history of Sherpas.
Mm-hmm.
So I brought a 100-year-old camera. Now the catalog that they ran with had to sell the clothes, so that was a little different. But I ended up with all these other photos of where I brought this really old camera and I shot film, and we went and trekked up in the Himalayas. I mean, I shot a regular camera too, but
Yeah.
a lot of stuff that I love was with this old camera.
Yeah.
And again, the same concept applies. Like I'm trying to convey the feelings and more about the people, because they're beautiful people. The whole family just amazing. They're all hardcore Buddhists, so they're just happy all the time. There's no drama. And just for people to be able to look at those photos and get a sense of who those people are,
Mm-hmm.
valuable lessons learned in many different ways. I learned, and this is good to let people know, Sherpa is not a verb. Sherpa is the last name. It means people from the East. So when you're like, oh, you need a Sherpa, that's somewhat derogatory because Sherpa is just a person. So
Right.
a guide or a porter carry stuff. Sherpas don't carry gear. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
It's their last name. So Tenzing Sherpa.
Very interesting.
So if somebody were to be like, oh, you need a Mercer to carry your shit, be like, no, you don't.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, the pictures are beautiful.
That's beside the point.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. Yeah. Again, it's an interesting place to be. Like, here I am known as this rock photographer, and I got all this music stuff, which I love, but there's a whole bunch of other stuff because I'm a photographer. I take photos of everything, right? So,
right. So let us know what you are up to now. What's on the horizon? What's happening now?
Now I am in the process of putting together another book. Yay. That's kind of the main goal. Yeah. It's going to take about a year. That's, in between making a living and paying the bills, right? Just trying to keep up on everything. I mean, it's can be hard.
Right.
Right? Mm-hmm. Like we sit down at the computer and then the day's gone. Spending a lot of time as much as I can with my new grandkid. Well, not new. He's like 2.5.
Aww.
So that's super fun. Yeah, little Vinny. Vincent. Come on. Look at this guy. I mean, come on.
He's cute. Really cute. Gerber baby.
Yeah. And he's a boy. I have all girls, my daughter, so not whatever. It's just he's got a different energy.
Right.
Yeah, working on a book. I really want the book to be, I'm working with Regan Hagar, who did the last book too, but I'm just dumping a bunch of photos on him, and I want this book to be more a retrospective and more about me. I want people to get a sense of who I am, not just Pearl Jam.
Right.
Because there's thousands and thousands of photos that I have, which you can't see. They're all right here. This whole floor to ceiling boxes. Yeah, so it's an arduous, time-consuming process to go through, because when I shot film, there'd be like, there'd be a roll of film. I don't even know who this is, Sweetwater. But like, there's like, oh, Sweetwater, and then the last couple of frames could be something totally different.
Yeah.
But I don't know, so I have to go through this stuff, because I have found other photos in there. And I don't even know what I did with it, but there's a bag of mystery film that's shot that I don't know what's on it.
Wow.
So
you should send it to me.
No. My daughter, what did I do with it? She saw it. Every photographer that shot film back in the day, you'd come back from a shoot or whatever, and there'd be a roll of film, and you'd throw it in a box or a bag, or you'd see it, find a roll of film. Over the years, since high school, I've had those rolls of film, all black and white, color. So I have hundreds of rolls of film that are exposed that they're not processed. So my daughter was like, oh my God, that's the mystery film, and that's the project. That's the next thing we're doing. And it's perfect. It lends itself to social media or whatever to bring people along. Like, here's this film. What's on it? Let's follow it through the steps, getting processed. And it was during the heyday in the 90s. So chances are pretty high that could be some cool shit on there.
Oh,
I don't know.
I'm a history teacher and a music buff. I would just go crazy going through your boxes of film.
Yeah, it's pretty well, and that's why I let people that I trust or whatever go through it and pick. Like Regan gets to go through, but the mystery film is on on the agenda to get done as well. So
Very
there's,
exciting.
but that's, like I said, in between making a living,
Right. I know.
which,
I know that it's
yeah,
a lot. That's a lot of work to put all of that together for sure.
yeah, you just got to carve out some time,
Yeah.
And then live a life as well.
Right. Well,
On top of it. So,
Lance, thank you so much for talking to me tonight.
of course.
I just, it's such an honor. I grew up, with Pearl Jam, but I grew up on your pictures, and it's just, I just really appreciate you speaking with us.
That means a lot. I will say, I won't keep you much longer, but what you just said, I never take that stuff for granted. Like that, it's very easy for me to get caught up, and people that I've dealt with or that have bought prints for me have heard this from me as well. But I get caught up in just the grind and the hustle and trying to make a living, and I forget what it is that I'm doing.
Right.
Which is that I'm providing this memory for people that is very meaningful. Like they were at these shows, and you're a testament to that, and the stuff on your walls is a testament to that, and I forget that. And it's easy, just I get not complacent, but I just I gotta like get this stuff done.
Right.
Every once in a while, or often people say that, and I gotta kind of step back from that and be like, oh yeah, that's why I'm doing this. You know what I mean? That's the main, that's a big part of it. Like, it hits deep, and it's good for me to let people know that, like, because it could be easy for me to go, oh yeah, cool, thanks,
Yeah.
but I don't, there was somebody recently, a guy, their first concert was Drop in the Park, him and his wife. They can see themselves in one of my photos. Like, they're small.
That's so cool.
That was their first date.
Oh
and
my gosh.
they're having an anniversary, and they bought a house, and he bought like a 44-inch print by 70 of that Drop in the Park photo to give his wife as a gift.
Wow. That is so awesome.
Yeah.
It's so sweet.
Holy fuck. And that's my photo that is that meaningful to those people, that they're making it a focal point of their, like, come on, that's huge. Like, I'm still the little punk rock kid from Seattle. That's I forget, like I said. So,
well,
thank you very much. Yeah.
Well, thank you, because you are so appreciated by all of us, and your work's amazing. I can't wait to see what you release in your book. And
yeah, you're gonna have to keep bugging me. It might take a while.
I'm gonna keep bugging you. But thanks again, Lance, and we'll be talking to you soon, I hope.